Welcome back to ShelleyDuvallScream, where this week I'll be talking about John Carpenter's 1978 film, Halloween. Some of you may have noticed that I missed a week. I had a lot going on last week with Halloween and all, but my roller derby team also competed in national championships and won. So I didn't really have much of a voice to record a video last week, so my apologies. Halloween stars Jamie Lee Curtis as our Scream Queen, Laurie Strode, and Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis. The movie opens with a teenage couple engaging in some teenage activities. The story revolves around killer Michael Myers. It was also supposed to take place over the course of 3 nights, but for budgeting and costuming purposes, they decided to make it one night, the scariest night of the year, Halloween. This beginning sets the theme for the killing of babysitters. The script was originally called The Babysitter Murders, but Halloween ended up being a better title. He is introduced in the opening of the film as a little boy dressed up as a clown, and he viciously murders the girl involved in the opening. Myers is then sent to a mental institution where he is kept for 15 years, and then at age 21, I believe, breaks free. This is what kicks off the whole plot. Dr. Loomis is Michael Myers' psychologist, and he is going to visit this mental institution to argue against having Michael Myers moved when he breaks out. Loomis is sure that Myers is on his way back to his hometown where he committed the original murder, which is Haddonfield, Illinois. Fun fact, Haddonfield is the name of a town just a couple minutes from me in New Jersey, and I'm fairly certain that the Haddonfield in the movie is actually named after the one here. So meanwhile, in Haddonfield, we meet Laurie Strode and their friends. Laurie's a high school student, she's a babysitter, her father is a real estate agent who is showing the Myers house. It's Halloween, and Laurie has to babysit that night, but her and her friends are planning some other activities for the occasion. One of her other friends is also babysitting, and their third friend intends to come to the house with her boyfriend for a little alone time. Laurie is kind of the nerd of the group. She doesn't have a boyfriend. She's described as kind of unapproachable. She's kind of the mom of the group. The house where Laurie will be babysitting that night is conveniently located just across the street from the Myers house, which the boy she's babysitting tells her is haunted. Of course, it isn't long before Laurie and her friends encounter the boogeyman, Michael Myers. Michael Myers is your classic slasher villain. Myers wears a mask, so his face is concealed. This is kind of a callback to when he was a kid. You see, from his point of view, a clown mask on the ground that's picked up. And then when he leaves the house, his parents find him with a knife covered in blood, and they pull the mask off of his face. The mask that he wears, they say, was stolen from a hardware store in town, though if you look closely and you know your Halloween trivia, it's actually a William Shatner mask intended for a Star Trek costume that they cut the eyes out of and painted white. Still, the mask has this emotionless effect, so Myers is very dehumanized, which is kind of the way that Dr. Loomis talks about him. He's not a person, he's a devil, almost. So the fact that we can never really see his eyes or tell what his emotions are the entire time makes him all the more threatening. Laurie is a really badass character, and at the beginning of the movie I didn't like her much because she's not the most interesting and she's a little whiny, but she's kind of a typical teenager in that way. However, her survival instincts are out of control. Not only does she do an amazing job taking care of the kids that she's watching, she fights for her life tooth and nail, and she does anything she can to take on Michael Myers. I think it's really awesome that this movie has a female hero, because it's not something you see all the time in horror, and Laurie isn't just your typical damsel in distress, and there are definitely problems with her character. I think she's a little patronizing to her friends and their boyfriends because of their lifestyles, but at the same time, she's really awesome. She's smart, she's strong, and I wouldn't say fearless because she's definitely very afraid, but she battles through the entire thing. I definitely would have liked to know more about Myers' character, though I hear if you watch the sequel, you get to know a little bit more about him. This is one of those movies that doesn't really have a strong linear story to it. It's really more about the killings. but I wouldn't say that it's without plot. Like I said, I would have liked to know a little bit more about Laurie, about Michael, about everything that was going on, but I think that we get really strong glimpses into that from Dr. Loomis and just from the little things that we get to see. I think what's so great about Halloween as a film is that it's just like a celebration of the holiday almost, and it's really what you want out of an October scary movie. I mean, after all, Halloween, the holiday, is really kind of about facing your fears, and it's about encountering all this spooky nonsense, and you're always a little on edge that something might happen. Well, that's totally not realistic. It's fun to watch a movie that shows you just how dark and frightening that holiday can be. Halloween's the season where you want to be scared, and this movie does a really good job of it. It's got a great slasher villain, got an exceptional scream queen, and all in all, you've got good scares. So if you're looking for a movie to put you in the Halloween mood, this is probably a good choice. To have a successful slasher film, you've got to get your audience to feel like they're a part of it, and I think that Halloween does a really good job of that. John Carpenter uses a lot of long shots and kind of cutaways that really put you in this mood where you feel like you're being watched, and you start to feel like you're in it with Laurie. While I do prefer films with stronger stories, stronger characters that we feel more connected to, I think that Halloween is a really great horror film. If you're looking for a real classic to watch that's not going to involve too much thinking but is really going to give you good scares, this is a great choice. Thanks for watching, and make sure to come back next week when I talk about one of my all-time favorites, Carrie.